Welcome to episode 2 of RooVentures. I'm Don, and today I'm going to talk about how we brought the Roo home. That was an adventure. So as I mentioned before, we bought the camper about an hour and a half away from home, and we didn't have a tow vehicle. We have a 2019 Chevy Traverse, which can tow on its own about 1,500 pounds. Obviously the trailer is more than that. It's about 4,000 or 4,100 pounds dry with nothing in it. So we needed something to tow it home. We knew that we had we bought the Traverse with the intent of towing a camper. We didn't have the camper yet, but we knew at the end of last year that we were seriously considering getting one, and so that was one of the considerations in buying the new vehicle. It was going to be for my wife to take back and forth to work, but rather than have multiple car payments at the same time, we were just going to get a big vehicle that we could use for traveling. We found the Traverse. It was very comfortable, but it didn't have the tow package. Of course, the salesperson assured us that we could do aftermarket tow package. You put a hitch receiver on and it would tow up to 5,000 pounds. It sounded reasonable to us, not ever having towed before. That's a mistake. If you're planning even remotely to tow anything more than 1,000 pounds, which means any kind of a trailer, get a tow package from the factory, because that will come with not only the hitch, but the brake controller, and it will have a cooler for the transmission fluid, and in many cases it will also have different gear ratios that will make it easier to tow a vehicle. But there are ways around it, and here's how we got around it. After we'd had the vehicle for about 6 months and we decided that we were going to buy a trailer, we looked into how we could do this, what it would take, what it would cost. We knew that technically the Traverse with the tow package could tow 5,200 pounds. So when we picked out the trailer and we saw that it was a little over 4,000 pounds, they say allow up to 1,000 pounds for when you have it packed, or including water. Water is going to be another many hundred pounds if you have your clean water tank full. That's one of the reasons why they say to not fill it up and travel with it full, because you'll save a lot of weight. So it seemed doable. We got a hitch receiver, a class 3 hitch receiver put on the Traverse, and the brake controller. They put the cables in, and that provides the electric for the backup lights, the signals, and the brakes on the trailer. The trailer has its own brakes, and that probably cost us about $700 or $800, if I recall. What it didn't have is any kind of a cooling enhancement for the engine or the transmission fluid. We got suggestions that it shouldn't be a big deal as long as you don't overdo it, don't take it up hills. don't drive for long periods in the heat, just kind of baby it along. And that's what we figured we could do. At least it was a starting point. At least we would have something to bring it home, and then maybe take a few trips nearby to get used to the trailer. Daddy. Then I discovered by doing some additional research that a sway bar, or weight distribution system, would be phenomenal for our situation. If you're driving a smaller tow vehicle, it's potentially able to add 1,000 to 4,000 pounds of towing capacity onto your vehicle. Of course, those numbers are dependent on other things like whether or not you have engine cooling enhancements, and how old your vehicle is, etc., etc. So I wanted to have as much protection as possible, so I went ahead and I ordered a top-of-the-line weight distribution system. It's called the Equalizer. I'll have a link down in the description. In fact, anytime I mention specific items for the camper, I will put an Amazon link down in the description that you can click on. It goes right to my Amazon store, and if you end up purchasing it from Amazon, if you're kind enough to use the link that I provide below, I get a few cents earned for the channel. So look in the description for links to items that I'm talking about. So this is top of the line. It is an Equalizer. The brand is Equalizer, and it is a weight distribution or equalizing system. It consists of a long hitch that goes into the receiver in the back of your tow vehicle. It doesn't come with the ball, but you can order the ball separately. There's one that's specifically made by Equalizer. That's the one that I bought. I think that's rated for up to 10,000 pounds. You can find cheaper weight distribution systems online or even in the camping stores, but they're not as good. There are some that the older style come with chains. It basically does the same thing, but with the chain, you're not completely eliminating the sway, whereas with the Equalizer system, it's actually a heavy-duty solid sway bar on each side that is connecting your tow vehicle to the sides of the A-frame on your trailer. And let me tell you that completely eliminates any kind of sway or instability when you're towing. I will say that when we towed the trailer home from the dealership, we had absolutely no problems with swaying. Didn't even feel like we were towing anything. It didn't sway, it didn't pull, it didn't feel like there was anything back there really. The brakes worked fine. The braking system that we had installed on the Traverse was actually a Bluetooth system. I can put a link to that below if I can find that as well. Now in the old days they used to put the brake controller as a physical switch underneath your dash if you were going to add it after the fact. But today they have everything is wireless and Bluetooth, so all you need are the electric cables, the wiring harness underneath, and a lot of the new cars come with that anyway. It's just a matter of installing the connector to actually, it's called a 7-pin connector. It's one of those big round electrical connectors, and you put those together. You connect the trailer electrical system with the car electrical system, and so all you need is that connection point. What actually controls it without the switch in your car or your tow vehicle is a Bluetooth app on your phone. The app is compatible with both iPhone and Android systems, and it's sort of a piece that sits in between the 7-pin adapter on the tow vehicle and the plug from the trailer. When those fit together, the piece in the middle actually transmits to your phone, and it controls the electrical current, the gain to the trailer brakes. So on my system, it's a 1 to 10 gain. As you're driving, if you feel like the trailer is pulling away from the car, you ease up on the gain, you lower the electric current to the trailer brakes, and vice versa, until you get to a point where it feels like you're not towing anything, and it feels like when you brake, nothing's pulling. It just feels like you're not towing anything at all. And I found that happy medium to be around 3. So it was a pleasant ride home from that perspective. The day that we picked up the trailer, of course we knew nothing about connecting the trailer or this new brake system that we had installed. And I was worried because my phone, which was controlling the app, the battery was dying. We had an hour and a half's drive ahead of us, and I was afraid that if the battery on the phone died, that the brakes would die. That's not the case. Fortunately, I learned that once you set it on the phone, it will remember that gain setting, and you can turn the phone off, and you don't even have to worry about that for the rest of the trip unless you want to change the gain. And you shouldn't have to once you set it, and as long as you're using the same tow vehicle and pulling the same trailer, and it's roughly the same weight. Now that was empty when we pulled it home from the dealer. Obviously we're going to add several hundred pounds to it when we pack it for our first trip, so we would have had to change the gain a little bit. In a sense, it was uneventful from that perspective, the tow home. What was tricky was the fact that we don't have a cooling system for the transmission fluid. What?
What?
We do have a digital thermometer for the transmission fluid, and we watched that slowly rise during the trip. Within 20 minutes, it was up to about 125 degrees, and not knowing anything about anything, I Googled, what should transmission fluid temperature be when you're towing a vehicle? And the response that I got was, around 120 degrees is about as warm as you want to get it. We were already at 125 degrees and climbing, and we were only 20 minutes out on the road. So basically the suggestions were, if you see it climbing and getting too hot, pull over, let it sit, keep your engine running. That's another thing that I learned. When you pull over, because you're heating up, if you let the engine run, the fans will run, and it will actually help cool the fluid through the radiator. All that fan blowing, moving air around under the hood will cool the fluid down a lot faster. So that's a trick I learned. Thank you, Dennis, my brother-in-law, who is a mechanic, who helped me through this process. Shout out to him. It wasn't really a problem because we never actually overheated. We did at one point get up to about 145 degrees, which is pretty warm, and I guess they say that for every 10 degrees over 120, you're doubling your chances of doing some kind of damage or overheating to the system. So once you get to 130, you're kind of in a risky zone. We were over 140, so that's definitely time to pull over and let it cool down. We let it cool back down below 120. It got down to about 112 or 115, maybe 117 before we took off again. That was only about maybe 15 minutes sitting. We went into a store, went into a grocery store, got a snack. One time we just pulled into a rest area. We only had to stop 2 or 3 times, and that was really just to make sure. It never overheated. We do have an alarm, and it never went off, so we could have probably made it home without even stopping and without it overheating, but it was getting darn close to the danger zone, which worried my wife significantly. So that's the reason why she decided, after we got the trailer home, that she didn't want to tow the trailer on a camping trip with her car. So then I started looking for a different vehicle. That is another adventure and another episode coming up, probably next. But one more thing that I will mention in this episode is that I learned how to back up a trailer into a driveway. It took me 2 days to do it, but it's not as easy as you would think. If you've never done it before, there are tricks. First of all, my trailer did not have a camera installed in the rear, so I was totally blind. Obviously, the camera in my car is only looking at the front of the trailer that I'm towing, so I literally had to rely on the side view mirrors, sticking my head out the window, and rely on my wife to help me. Needless to say, I bought a camera and installed it. More on that in a future episode as well. I'll show you what I did and how I did it and what I bought. makes a world of difference. It takes 2 days of trying to back into a spot to 2 minutes. So highly recommend that. So that's as far as I'll take it in this episode. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on RooVentures.